I'm really gonna sound crazy now, but hello, I'm Hayden.Bloomfield and welcome to the channel. So in this video, let's cast our minds deep into the future. What will Tesla look like in the years to come, in the decades to come, when their fleet becomes autonomous? Whether you believe ROBOTAXIS, autonomous driving is going to take over or not, I want to use this opportunity to go through my own thoughts and theories around the future. If you don't know, I've mentioned in previous videos, I really love the idea of I want to work on a book that is the year of 2050 and my own theories, contemplations around what the world will look like and what our experience of life will be like in the decade of the 2050s. This video is just a bit of fun, theorising about the future, what could it all look like. Stick around to the end because I've got some really wacky ideas that you might think I'm absolutely crazy for thinking. Stick around and make sure to see if you do think I'm crazy, or maybe I'm being realistic, but just a bit out there. One key fundamental when we're considering autonomous vehicles, it's no longer unproductive to be driving. When you consider your commute to work or driving to see your friends or driving for that long trip to go away somewhere, it's essentially unproductive time because we're just sat there behind a wheel. If you're the one driving, you've got to be focused while all your friends are trying to entertain themselves on that journey. Or if you're alone, you're just there. For me personally, I always make sure I've got a good list of podcasts if I'm on a journey so that I feel that the time is productive. However, when we have autonomous driving, we are no longer responsible for the vehicle, therefore we can be productive with our time. So in considering how long a journey takes, suddenly it doesn't actually matter how long it takes, if that makes sense. You may be thinking surely if I'm going on holiday, it's a 6-hour drive, surely I want to get there as quick as possible. However, if we can entertain ourselves in other ways, the time of the journey no longer matters. Although I'm speaking about time no longer matters, something I do see with the first theory I'm going to go into that might seem mind-blogging and absolutely crazy is the fact that I believe in the future there will be no speed limit. That 70 miles an hour will no longer exist. Let me point out though, I still believe we will have speed limits locally in built-up areas where you have got a heavily dense pedestrian area. Therefore, when you're walking around town, you'll still see autonomous vehicles driving at 20, 30 miles an hour. However, on the motorway, where there are no pedestrians, I believe it will open up so that there are no longer speed limits. But as humans, we won't be driving, so it'll be a lot safer. Another key fundamental to consider here is, if you've heard of ARK Invest, led by Cathie Wood, they've recently released their research, most recent research, on autonomous vehicles and the impacts that will have on the economy as well as the GDP globally, going into the trillions in terms of the value it adds to the economy. And the predictions they've made is that with autonomous driving, to hail a robotaxi, you're going to be looking at a region of 25 cents per mile to travel, to commute. Consider what that cost will do to us as a society, to us as a species, and how we will think about vehicle ownership. Imagine the fact that when we look at vehicle ownership at the moment, yes, it's below $1, but if ARK have predicted correctly, which I believe they will be incredibly accurate, you're now getting less than half the cost just to hail a robotaxi compared to owning the vehicle. And not to mention owning the vehicle, you need to insure it, maintain it, make sure it's road legal, not tax the thing. Unless you want an electric vehicle, you don't tax it. It's free. These all have huge implications on how the future of our society moves along, and how we commute and how we actually live and exist. Let's dive into how I see robotaxis evolving and what different types we'll get. Firstly, the sleep pod, a sleep robotaxi. If you imagine a long commute. So for example, I live in Kent. If I want to go to Scotland, I'm looking at an 8-hour drive. It's crazy. Not to mention that is if I don't stop. So it's going to be a few hours stopping somewhere to rest, use the loo, etc., get some food. Whereas with a robotaxi, what I feel we'll have is the option to have a sleep pod. In a way that, if you use Uber, Lyft, not that I do, if you use these services, you go on an app and you select. So the way I see this future going, as I go through these options, is it will be a case of as you order your robotaxi, you'll just open up on your phone, go into the options, specify the journey, and it will give you the options you can have for that commute. So let's take the example of me from Kent going to Scotland. It's an 8-hour drive without stopping. Therefore, I think 8 hours, what could I do productively with that time? I could sleep. That's a whole night's sleep, and I could leave in Kent, go to sleep, wake up, I'm in Scotland. That time has been spent productively sleeping. Therefore, I could order a sleep pod that you'll imagine your 5-seater normal sedan car you get at the moment. You have the boot space for your luggage, your suitcase and whatnot. Whereas instead of seeing the 5-seat steering wheel we normally see, that will just be empty space that's just out wide with a bed, and I'll probably imagine some sort of night light over the top. The windows will black out, so you can literally just open up, lay into the bed. You're probably thinking, the first thought, you're probably grossed out at the idea of sleeping in this bed and then getting out and then knowing someone else is going to sleep. I see in the future what you'll have is, to rectify this issue, with those stops and in between journeys, what you'll have is, I'm really going to sound crazy now, but we'll start to have humanoid robots that can start to then change over the sheets. So if you are doing an 8-hour drive, that's quite a trek, quite a journey, and there'll be a place for you to stop. It will take you to your destination, drop you off, and then what will probably happen is it will go to a service centre or something where the bed sheets will be changed over for the next journey, which will then already be booked in. Or within the vehicle, I wouldn't be surprised if there's somewhere the mattress just flips and it's got fresh bedding, and then beneath that you've just got this wash system that's washing the sheets and then remaking the bed beneath. I would not be surprised if that can be achieved in the future. It seems a lot easier to solve that than it does to solve autonomous driving. Think of this, think of the implications, the utilitarian benefits to actually being able to consider a long journey and no longer think, oh my God, I've got to drive to Scotland. Like, it is a long drive. And especially if you live in bigger countries, like I went to, when I went to Australia, drove from Melbourne to Sydney, and that's like a 12-hour drive without stopping. And we stopped, so it took like a couple of days. So you could actually do this as one long journey within a sleep pod. Secondly, another thing I see coming with robotaxis is an office pod. I'm going to keep calling them pods. An office pod. So consider, if you are taking a commute to work, if you're still working in an office, bear in mind I'm stretching this out across decades, or if you're going somewhere but you need to be productive, you're going to see your family, stay with them, but you just want to crack on with a few emails, get a few video calls done, whatever it is, something to be productive in the working space. What I see us having is same sort of thing. You've got your sedan, you pull up, you open the door. Instead of seeing a sleep pod, what you see is a lovely desk space with screens, and you just have your device, whether it's your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and you just have a docking station, you hook up to it, there you go, you're connected. The first thing you're going to think probably and freak out about is data. Is it protected? I'm not a computer whiz, but I'd imagine some sort of localized connection where you're not at such risk of being hacked. It's a similar process to, well, I say this, but when you connect over Wi-Fi, there's certainly a lot of risk. Let's avoid that for the moment and just look at the benefits. The sun is shining and it's a bright future. I have this as well, like sometimes I think about journeys and I'm like, I really need to get this call done, get these emails done, and yet I'm having to drive to get to somewhere. Or I'm like having to get a train and I can't quite get comfortable and I've got to deal with like people walking past and I'm trying to join this call and I don't really want to speak about what I'm speaking about in front of people, especially if it's quite private or like financial terms. I don't want to go into the details of that when I'm sitting with other members of the public. Therefore, an office pod will allow a nice private space to crack on, hook my laptop in and just work away with a nice comfortable chair that's designed for lumbar support and correcting your spine and whatnot, for me to crack on for my journey. And as I said, like when we're considering this, if I'm doing an office journey, I'm not going to want to spend like 8 hours in a vehicle compared to when I'm doing a sleep pod, whether I'm having a nap for a couple of hours or if I want to get a full night's sleep on a journey. What I feel we'll have an option to is, as I alluded to earlier, I believe we won't have a speed limit on motorways, so I think when it comes to options, let's say I'm going from like Kent to Cornwall, which is normally quite a few hours, 4 or 5 hours, I think the option will be there that you can stretch that out to 8 hours so you can get full night's sleep, or if you want to speed it up, you will be able to get that journey done in say 2 hours because there won't be a speed limit. And what I feel we'll have in the future is utilisation of tunnels to get across different areas from city to city, from country to country. If you've heard of the Boring Company, is exactly what they're doing and building the infrastructure out in America, which I just think in decades to come will reach across globally. So in a situation, if you want to go from Kent to Cornwall, London to Manchester, London to Birmingham, there'll be a tunnel network that will allow to be in a space away from pedestrians, to be safely transported from A to B at ridiculous speed, or what we would deem today ridiculous speeds. Thirdly, think limo style. Your group parties, if you've got your stag do, your hen do, your mate's birthday, whatever it is on your way into town, to the club, you can have, if you imagine like a limo where you can have it, you've all got your own seated space, you can have drinks, have some champagne, all that sort of thing. I think that will be exactly the kind of thing we could experience in the future, whether you want it as a party bus or just as something to fit the space of your crew of 8. So for example, one of my best mates is getting married this summer and we've got the stag do in the summer. And part of that, of what we're doing, is looking to hire a minibus. The problem with that is, it means that while 10 of us, whatever, can fit in this vehicle, someone's always got to be driving and therefore not part of the fun as such. And in the future, in decades to come, what I see as the option is that for that, we can just go on our app, open it up, same way you do an Uber, and just select the vehicle you want, right, commute, 10 people, in a ROBOTAXI for a party of 10. Like, it's all there, the options available. And then again, we can stretch that ride. Do we want that ride to take 8 hours, or do we want that ride to be quicker? And then we can just have that experience tailored to the way that we want to enjoy it. Lastly, entertainment. Don't get the wrong idea. This is something I see for like the gamers or as a movie experience. So it may even be something where this can eradicate the need for a cinema almost, because you'll have your own personal cinema experience. To jump into, well, I think either way could work. So the same concept, you've got your sedan, which on the point above of groups, obviously you wouldn't have a sedan, you'd have like a minibus style. But for this example, I'm thinking sedan, and you open the doors up, and you have a reclined sofa experience. If you imagine like sofas when you recline, you know, like the luxury cinemas you get, and they have like these fancy sofas and stuff, and like drinks that pop up, like amazing. So you have that, you recline in, and rather than a windscreen, what you have is just this curved cinema, just like the IMAX. If you've ever, I've never actually been to that. Therefore, you sit down, your whole experience is just taken up with surround sound, so it almost feels as if you are in the experience, which I'm not a gamer. If you're a gamer, I'd imagine that'd be incredible to feel that. If you're watching a movie or a series, it feels as if you are in the room as part of that experience. It'd be phenomenal. Not to mention, as we delve into the future where we'll start to see augmented reality as well as virtual reality taking over and becoming ever more abundant, this is something where I see the experience augmenting even more, so that you'd be able to just hook up onto some sort of VR system and be able to experience then this movie, series, whatever you're consuming, the content you're consuming, through this experience. As you commute from A to B, it becomes productive. They're just 4 sort of examples I see coming up. If this idea now being discussed, is there anything else that you think could be part of the future in terms of robo-taxis? Anything I've missed? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope it's been valuable, I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it's been a bit of nice entertainment to think about the future in a positive manner, in some of the new experiences we could all be able to embrace in the future in decades to come. If you have enjoyed, make sure to like the video, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.